Today I am going to deal with abnormalities of heme catabolism, or more specifically we can say about jaundice. Before that, we know this normal plasma bilirubin level is 0.2 to 0.8 milligram per deciliter, and that includes unconjugated and conjugated bilirubin. Unconjugated bilirubin level is 0.2 to 0.6 milligram per deciliter, negligible amount, whereas the conjugated is 0 to 0.2 milligram per deciliter. And if the blood bilirubin level exceeds 1 milligram per deciliter, then we call it as hyperbilirubinemia. And this hyperbilirubinemia of two types, that is congenital and acquired. And again, we can say unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia and conjugated hyperbilirubinemia in both these categories. And coming to the cause for this hyperbilirubinemia, that includes that may be due to the increased production of bilirubin, or maybe due to defect in the conjugation or defect in the excretion. So these three are the main causes or main reasons for this hyperbilirubinemia. So we can discuss mainly about the acquired hyperbilirubinemia in this video. So coming to this acquired hyperbilirubinemias. In this acquired hyperbilirubinemia, we can see unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia and conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. So unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia means if the blood or plasma unconjugated bilirubin level is high, then it is unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. And if in blood, if conjugated bilirubin level is high, that is conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. So in these conditions, that is in physiological jaundice, again breast milk jaundice, toxic hyperbilirubinemias, again hemolytic disease. So in these conditions, we can see the unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia or unconjugated bilirubin level will be high in plasma. Coming to this hepatocellular jaundice, or simply we can say hepatic jaundice, in that case we can see both, that is conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin level will be increased in the blood. Now coming to this obstructive jaundice, in this case we can see the conjugated bilirubin level will be high in the blood. So we can discuss all these one by one. Neonatal physiological jaundice. So actually this is the most common cause for this unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. That is actually this jaundice appear after 24 hours, and again this will disappear by the second week. Say that actually in the newborns there will be immature hepatic system, again there will be accelerated hemolysis, and also coming to this UGT activity, that will be reduced, or that is reduced also. So these are the main reasons for that is increased or accelerated hemolysis, again immature hepatic system, and again we can see the reduced UGT activity, reduced UDP glucuronide transferase activity. So all these enzymes we were discussing in the last video. So these are the main reasons we can say for this neonatal physiological jaundice. And again, if the value exceeds 20 milligram per deciliter, then that will result in hyperbilirubinemic toxic encephalopathy. Hyperbilirubinemic toxic encephalopathy. That is actually in young children before the age of 1, we can say that blood-brain barrier is not fully developed. So in that condition, what happens means this bilirubin in the bloodstream that will reach the brain, and that will cause damage to the tissues there, resulting in this encephalopathy. Treatment mainly by this phototherapy. So in phototherapy, the blue light that will isomerize the insoluble bilirubin into more soluble isomer, and that can be excreted into bile without the conjugation with glucuronic acid. So that is here the blue light isomerizes the insoluble form into more soluble isomer, into a soluble isomer. and this is excreted along with the bile. Coming to, we can give drugs like phenobarbiturates also. So that's about the treatment. Now coming to this breast milk jaundice. Here what happens means the high estrogen derivatives in the maternal blood that will be excreted through milk, and that will reaching the baby, it will cause the inhibition of glucuronide transferase activity. That is UGT activity here will be inhibited by the maternal estrogen derivative. So as a result, hyperbilirubinemia, or we can say that is the unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. The conjugation process will be inhibited because of the reduced activity of this enzyme. Now coming to this drug-induced hyperbilirubinemia, certain antibiotics that may cause, or certain drugs that will cause the competition with the bilirubin to bind to the high affinity site of the albumin. So we know albumin is having two sides, on low affinity and high affinity side, and this drug, certain drugs or antibiotics that will compete to bind to the high affinity site of the albumin, as the unconjugated bilirubin level will be increased in the blood. So that what happens in the drug induced hyperbilirubinemia. Now we can move to the toxin. It is toxic hyperbilirubinemia. Toxic hyperbilirubinemia. Hyperbilirubinemia, certain toxins that will induce the liver dysfunction. So certain toxin that will induce liver dysfunction. Actually, it will cause the hepatic parenchymal cell damage, liver parenchymal cell damage. So defect in the conjugation, and there will be increased unconjugated hyperbilirubin, or we can say increased unconjugated bilirubin in blood. Now we can go to the hemolytic disease. So all these cases, that is in physiological jaundice, again this one toxin-induced toxic hyperbilirubinemia, or this drug-induced hyperbilirubinemia, all these cases we can see the increased unconjugated bilirubin. In the hemolytic disease also we can see the increased level of unconjugated bilirubin. So now we can discuss about this hemolytic disease of newborn that we all know, that is mainly due to the Rh incompatibility. Rh incompatibility. In the severe form, that results in erythroblastosis fetalis, and we are all familiar with this term, erythroblastosis fetalis. Actually here what happens means, if the mother is Rh negative, then what happens means, if she conceives an Rh positive fetus, if the fetus is Rh positive, during the first delivery, what happens means there will be mixing of the blood, so that in maternal blood it will produce antibodies. So antibodies in maternal blood, that is if a mother is Rh negative and if she conceives Rh positive fetus, during the delivery time we can see the mixing of blood. At that time actually these antibodies will be produced in the maternal blood. And during the second pregnancy, first pregnancy will be okay, no problem, but coming to the second pregnancy, what happens means these antibodies already produced in the maternal blood that will react with the antigens in the fetus, if that fetus is also positive. So that antigen antibody reaction will occurs there. So this antigen antibody reaction that results in the lysis of the RBC, that is hemolysis of fetus. So there will be hemolysis in the fetus, and that would result in the erythroblastosis fetalis. So this is what happens in the erythroblastosis fetalis, that is first delivery that will be okay, but during the delivery time there will be mixing of the blood, and that results in the production of antibodies in maternal blood, and that antibodies will react with the antigen if that lady conceives the second baby of Rh positive. Antigen antibody reaction occurs, resulting in the destruction of fetal RBC. Hemolysis will occur, and that is the erythroblastosis fetalis. So here the treatment, one exchange transfusion, again by phototherapy or by giving drugs like barbiturates. And if blood bilirubin level exceeds 2 mg per deciliter, then the bilirubin diffuses into tissues, resulting in jaundice. So in clinical practice, this jaundice can be classified into three. And coming to these three, that is hemolytic jaundice, we can call it as prehepatic jaundice. Prehepatic jaundice. And coming to this hepatocellular jaundice, we can call it as hepatic jaundice. Hepatic jaundice. And the obstructive jaundice is also known as post-hepatic jaundice. And from the name itself, we can discuss that means we can understand this, that is prehepatic jaundice, mainly unconjugated bilirubin level will be increased in this type of jaundice. Here we can see unconjugated bilirubin level will be increased. Unconjugated bilirubin level will be increased here. And coming to this hepatocellular or hepatic jaundice, we can see both, that is unconjugated and conjugated bilirubin level will be high here. Coming to this obstructive jaundice or post-hepatic jaundice, that is conjugated bilirubin level will be high here. So we can discuss this one by one. Actually this topic, it is very important. That is hemolytic jaundice, that is a prehepatic jaundice, means always prehepatic, that is before liver. Before liver we know the bilirubin will be in the unconjugated form. So we can say that is unconjugated bilirubin level will be high here. And coming to this hepatic jaundice, we can see mixed type, that is both conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin level will be high. And coming to this obstructive jaundice or post-hepatic. Post-hepatic means after liver we can say that the bilirubin will be in the form of conjugated bilirubin. So in this case we can see conjugated bilirubin level will be high in the blood. So coming to this hemolytic jaundice. Actually this is mainly due to the increased production of this unconjugated bilirubin, is mainly due to increased hemolysis. That results in the increased production of bilirubin beyond the liver's capacity or ability to conjugate. So liver can actually conjugate almost 3000 milligram bilirubin daily. Normally the normal production of bilirubin is only about 300 milligram. So if it exceeds the liver's capacity, if that production of bilirubin are due to increased hemolysis, the production of bilirubin exceeds the liver's capacity to ability to conjugate, means definitely there will be increased unconjugated bilirubin in the blood. And here this increased hemolysis may be due to autoimmune disease, or maybe due to incompatible blood transfusion, or we can see in sickle cell disease also. The abnormal shape of this RBC. So all these are the reasons. Maybe due to any of these reasons there will be increased hemolysis, and so that increased production of bilirubin will be there, and that bilirubin exceeds the liver's capacity to conjugate, resulting in the increased level of unconjugated bilirubin in blood. So prehepatic means before hepatic we know the bilirubin is unconjugated form. So unconjugated bilirubin in the blood. So this is also known as echoloric jaundice. Echoloric jaundice means that there will be no bile pigments in urine, but there will be increased unconjugated bilirubin in blood, but there will be no bile pigments in urine. That is the echoloric jaundice. So coming to diagnosis, it's very important. Here actually unconjugated bilirubinemia can be seen, that is unconjugated bilirubin level will be increased in blood, and increased urobilinogen in urine and increased stercobilinogen in feces can be seen. But there will be no bilirubinuria, that means there will be no bile pigments in urine, no bilirubin in urine. And again there will be no elevated enzymes also, that is for example ALP like enzyme will be elevated in some type of jaundice, for example in obstructive jaundice and hepatic jaundice and all, but in this case there will be no enzyme elevation. So these are the important findings. So hepatocellular jaundice or hepatic jaundice, that reflects generalized liver dysfunction. Here the defect or impairment can be seen in the case of uptake, conjugation and secretion or excretion. Can write excretion of bilirubin. So these all are impaired. So that what happens in the hepatocellular jaundice, and the main cause for this hepatic jaundice is the viral hepatitis. Viral hepatitis. And here initially we can see unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. That is, initially there will be increase in the unconjugated bilirubin level in the blood. But later what happens means, due to the inflammatory edema of the cell, that will compress the bile canaliculi, resulting in the obstruction. So what happens means, there will be increased conjugated bilirubin also in blood. That is, after conjugation the excretion process will be impaired, so that conjugated bilirubin will be regurgitated, or it will reflex back to the blood. So there will be increased conjugated bilirubin also here. So we can see in this hepatocellular jaundice or hepatic jaundice, both type of bilirubin, that is unconjugated bilirubin as well as the conjugated bilirubin level will be high. So coming to diagnosis, here we can see in blood conjugated bilirubin level will be increased, unconjugated bilirubin level will be also increased. Sometimes it may be normal, it depends. And coming to this urobilinogen in urine, that will be normal or decreased, that we know. Due to this obstruction, that conjugated bilirubin cannot reach the intestine through the bile. There will be elevated enzymes also, and we know the damaged bile duct that will produce the this one ALP, alkaline phosphatase, like such enzymes. So that elevated enzymes can be seen in this case of hepatic jaundice. Now we can move to the obstructive jaundice. That is the third one, and it is also known as post-hepatic jaundice. And from the name itself we know that is post-hepatic means after liver. After liver what happens, we know conjugated bilirubin will be there. So in that case, due to this obstructive jaundice, definitely there will be obstruction. That's why the name. So due to this obstruction, what happens means this conjugated bilirubin that will regurgitate back to this blood, and then in the blood this conjugated bilirubin level will be increased. So conjugated bilirubin is increased in blood. Not only that, we can see those bile pigments or bilirubin in the urine also. So that choleric jaundice we can say, choleric. That is the presence of bile pigments, or we can say bilirubin in urine. So that is the choleric jaundice. So bilirubinuria also can be seen here, bilirubinuria can also be seen here. Now the reason, or the mainly this obstructive jaundice is mainly due to extrahepatic cholestasis or intrahepatic cholestasis. So the causes for this obstructive jaundice, we can categorize this as intrahepatic cholestasis and extrahepatic cholestasis. Cholestasis, that we know, that is the blockage or prevention of the flow of bile from liver, or the flow of bile from liver stops. That condition is the cholestasis. And here the intrahepatic cholestasis means something that is related in the liver, or something that is related to liver, inside the liver, that is intrahepatic. So here what happens, we can see in these conditions, that is in chronic active hepatitis, again biliary cirrhosis and lymphomas, we can see this cholestasis or the obstructive jaundice, or there will be conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. So actually this chronic active hepatitis means actually it is the liver inflammation, it's a chronic condition. And biliary cirrhosis, we know that is a progressive disease of this liver, damage of the liver due to the buildup of bile in the liver. Actually that results in the bile duct damage and all. And lymphomas, definitely that is a cancerous condition. And coming to the extrahepatic cholestasis, that is something related outside the liver. So we can see in gallstones, that is in the gallbladder stone. Again, in case of the carcinoma of the head of pancreas, all these results in the blockage or the prevention of the flow of bile properly. As a result, what happens means this conjugated bilirubin cannot reach the intestine properly, and conjugated bilirubin level will be increased in blood. So these are the condition, or these are the reasons for this obstructive jaundice. The diagnosis is increased blood conjugated bilirubin level, that is increased blood conjugated bilirubin level. And here the urobilinogen in urine will be decreased or absent. Enzyme ALP will be increased. That is, the activity of ALP is increased in this case. Actually, this ALP is produced by the damaged bile duct. So we know that definitely there will be damage in the bile duct in this case, in these conditions. So results in the increased ALP, alkaline phosphatase also. Colored stool, clay colored stool or steatorrhea we can say. So coming to this, hemolytic, hepatic and obstructive jaundice. So what happens in the hemolytic jaundice, hepatic and obstructive jaundice in the conditions like that is findings of plasma bilirubin, again urine bilirubin, urine bilinogens, stercobilin, color of feces and again the ALP level. So in hemolytic jaundice we can see the plasma bilirubin level is increased. In all these conditions we can see the plasma bilirubin level increased, but it depends, that is here it unconjugated bilirubin is increased, whereas in hepatic we can see biphasic, that means both conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin level is increased, and here the obstructive it is conjugated bilirubin level is raised. Coming to this urine bilirubin or urine bile pigment, we can say hemolytic jaundice it is absent, whereas in hepatic often absent, but in obstructive that is increased, that is choleric jaundice we are seeing. Coming to urine bilinogen, hemolytic jaundice that is increased, whereas in hepatic we can see increase or decrease. And coming to this obstructive jaundice that is absent, we know that because of that obstruction it cannot reach the intestine and the urobilinogen formation will be blocked. Coming to the stercobilin, in hemolytic jaundice it is increased, whereas in hepatic it is decreased or normal. Coming to this obstructive it is decreased. So that the color of the feces also, here in this hemolytic there is dark colored feces, hepatic pale or normal, but in obstructive that is pale colored, that is steatorrhea. Coming to the plasma ALP level, alkaline phosphatase level, that is normal in case of the hemolytic jaundice and increased in hepatic jaundice and also increased in obstructive jaundice. So these are the findings. So thank you.